Hey mates, it's me Riz, doing reaction on the channel again. I know it's been a while since I've done another video on this channel. The last reaction video I did, I was coughing my guts out, but I'm better now. I've been focusing more on the Sludge Hat episode, and it's been taking quite a while. If you're curious on what's the state of that, recording is done. Right now I'm just doing it's going through my editing process, but more drawings need to be done. And that's the complicated bit with the drawings, because I mentioned a lot of stuff from outside stuff, not involving Australia, because some of it goes back to the UK, then to Canada, New Zealand, a few India, Austria, and I just gotta push through and just make just try and make sure I get just try and get them done. So, this video that I'm reacting now is, The War That Changed the English Language. And you know what? I don't think I've ever seen this video, or, like, when I was just looking for, did I miss any, oversimplified videos that I may have already watched, and I didn't check this one out. I don't know why. I think it was because it was part of the Mini War series, and I just if I maybe not have got a chance to look it up, but geez, the English language, yeah, it does change a lot. You can guess from the past 20 years, the English language has changed. There's been a lot of stuff that's been abbreviated, like just the symbol of the OMG phrase could give you a great idea on the other phrases that we've gotten. Also, there's stuff like iPhones, iPad, like new stuff that's invented that has to have a name for it. And then this is like stuff over time, and it's not just the English language that gets changed. Other languages do, and for English, for the English language, and heck, when I've been looking into the Sludge Hat, there's a lot of languages, or a lot of words from other language that the English language borrows, such as the khaki hat, and it's just so many other. And I'm delaying this as long as I can, aren't I? So I'm just gonna play the video, and we're just gonna enjoy it. And you know how I do this stuff: I pause, I fast forward, rewind, give my thoughts on it, crack a few jokes, or if I notice something that they put up. And yeah, let us get going. There's a bull, and let's get going.
England in the Middle Ages.
Oh,
the sun is shining.
Which century?
The birds are singing.
We're not strangers.
The children are playing in the village square. What a wonderful time to be alive. Hey, you're dying of dysentery. And also we're being raided by Vikings. What an awful time to be alive. It's the year 900.
Oh, there we
Europe
go.
is a Viking's wet dream. Raids galore. Hey, you want to go raid Paris?
Wait, back
the year
up.
900. Europe is a Viking's wet dream. Raids
Area settled or raided by Vikings.
galore.
Okay.
Hey, you want to go raid Paris? Okay. That particular raid didn't go too well. Admiral Frank said, "You guys are pretty tough and scary. How about we give you land in northern France, and in return, you protect us from other Vikings?" And it was agreed.
Oh.
The Vikings set up the Duchy of Normandy, and then they went full-on French, converting to Christianity, learning the language, and making babies with the locals. England also had its fair share of Viking problems. In the 800s, Danish Vikings had conquered most of the country, but the Anglo-Saxons eventually managed to kick them out, although they left behind a bunch of Viking settlers. Now this guy's king. He sucks. Replace him with his brother. And he was like, "Hey baby, how you doing?" And had a son, and then turned around and was like, "Hey baby, how you doing?" And had another son. And then he died, and no one was sure which son to make king. This one, because he's older. Not if I have anything to do with it. That works for us too.
Ooh.
Then he grew up and married the Duke of Normandy's daughter and had a bunch of kids. Remember this one. He's important.
Edward.
Then his advisors came to him and said, "Hey man, all those Viking settlers that are living here, they might band together and kill you."
Sorry, but for some reason I'm just thinking of Mountain Blade. I don't know.
Well then, why don't we kill them first?
What?
And so it was. This pissed off the Danish king, who launched an invasion, and the Vikings conquered England once again. Then the Anglo-Saxons unconquered it, then the Vikings reconquered it. The king's family had to go into exile, including Edward. Remember him? He
That explains the whole relation with the French.
went to Normandy, where he lived for 30 years. He and his brother Alfred tried to return to England to retake the throne from the Vikings, but they were betrayed by the Earl of Wessex, who said, "Hey friend, I'll take you to London where all the nobles are waiting to make you king. Oh no, look out, red hot poker in the eyes. I can't see." and thus you can't be king. Edward then escaped back to Normandy. After a few more Viking kings came and went, one finally died without an heir, and Edward was called back to England where he became king. And that's where our story begins.
Alright. What? Oh, okay. Context. Well, good bit of context. Battle of Hastings. No, never studied Battle of Hastings. What, you're surprised? I didn't learn this. I didn't learn anything in learn any British history, or at least anything from this far back. What if it was what if it was World War One, World War Two, the Gold Rush? Basically the Australian history. Anyway, Australian history, and then a few bits of history other side, and then I began to, research other stuff. So this is going to be new for me. But why am I still thinking of Mountain Blade? I'm thinking of Mountain Blade in my head for some reason.
Here's the thing about becoming a king in the Middle Ages. Often your entire country won't support you at first. You can be vulnerable to rebellions, and it's up to you to take control. Fortunately for Edward, there was already a super powerful guy who had a lot of control over England, and if Edward could get his support, then England would be his.
Yes, Yep. Unique keys to rule the world.
Who is this guy? Oh, piss, it's the guy getting my brother the red-hot poker in the eyes. After an awkward moment where Edward exiled Godwin from the country, he eventually had to give in and let him keep his earldom, possibly after Godwin gave him a bunch of gold and said he was very, very sorry. King Edward also married Godwin's daughter. Then Godwin died, and his massive fortune was passed down to his sons, who all became earls. In particular, this one became the new Earl of Wessex. Harold Godwinson was now King Edward's brother-in-law. He was a close advisor to the king, a brave warrior who had proven himself in battle against the Welsh, and in many ways he was almost like a co-king. Uh-oh, Edward got old and he's on his deathbed. Possibly for religious reasons, or maybe because he wasn't happy about having to marry her, he didn't boink his wife, and as a result has no kid, meaning there's no obvious heir to the throne, meaning I'm gonna be king.
Oh my goodness, what? There's the problem with monarchy. You don't have an heir. Fuck.
He does have a grandnephew, it could be him. No, let's go with me. Just one problem. I mentioned that Edward's mother was a Norman. Edward grew up in Normandy, and he had a lot of Norman friends. The current Duke of Normandy was William the Bastard. Why was he called the Bastard? One day his father was sneaking out of his castle when his advisors said, "Where are you going?" To the tanner's shop? Why?
Yeah.
To get a...
Tan?
Tan. But that was a lie. Firstly, because
because the tanner is where you get leather.
tanners give you leather, not tans. And secondly, because he was really going to see the tanner's daughter. One thing leads to another, and out comes baby William, born out of wedlock. Thus,
Okay, here's something I have a question with bastards. Something that after I played Kingdom Come Deliverance by the end, when Henry realized he's the bastard of Sir Radzig. It's unclear for me, what is he? He's not noble, but yet he is fealty to his father, but he's still his son, but they're at the countryside, so is it like he's sort of like a slightly higher-ish noble, or just a knight fealty to Sir Radzig? What is it with bastards? Are there some stories that, like, anyone got any specific stories that could give some context on what would a bastard represent, depending on, it depends on even the region you're in, the time you're in. What was the case with bastards? I'm gonna see what this is
absolute
involved.
bastard. His father died when William was 7 or 8, and he became the new Duke. He spent...
Okay, so there is something involving with that.
most of his childhood narrowly avoiding assassination, which probably turned him into the big balls tough guy he's remembered as today. In 1051, the town of Alençon tried to rebel against him, and the townspeople beat on dead animal skins as an insult to his commoner mother. William was furious, and he responded by, well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with.
Wait,
mother.
back up.
William was furious, and he responded by, well...
Oh. Ooh, they got well, he hanged them. Oh, jeez.
let's just say it wasn't.
Dude, where are your... Oh! Oh! He took off his arms. I thought he just hanged them, because that bit, but... Jeez.
Wasn't pretty. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. William and Edward were good friends, and Edward allegedly promised that William could have the English throne after him. A decade later, Harold Godwinson even visited William and pledged an oath to him over holy relics, promising that William could be the next king of England. Although it's possible Harold only did it because William was holding his family hostage. So when William heard that the king was on his deathbed, he said, "Hooray, I'm gonna be king." So now you have two extremely powerful men who both think they're about to become the next king. But wait. This guy is the King of Norway. He spent most of his life as a warrior for hire, fighting for whoever would give him the most gold. You name a place, he probably fought a war there. Poland? Yep. Estonia?
Oh.
Yep. Against pirates in the Mediterranean? Yep. The Holy Lands? Sicily? And Bulgaria? Yep.
Yep,
He got
he
crazy
did.
rich off the back of it. And
Oh my god, this is Mountain Blade. If this guy is literally the merchant. This guy
was
is like
swimming.
this is literally this is literally every protagonist or your character from Mountain Blade. You start out as a mercenary, get crazy rich off everyone, and then establish your own
And
kingdom,
gold.
maybe.
Then he returned home and became king. One
Yeah.
of the previous Norwegian kings had
is.
made an agreement with one of England's
It's Mountain
Viking
Blade.
kings, saying that when that Viking king died, the king of Norway would get the English throne. Hardrada felt that because of this agreement, he was now entitled to the English
Wow,
throne.
that is-
He was also eager to go on one last
looks
big
beautiful.
conquest that would turn him into a legend.
Looks
So when he
nice.
got word that Edward was on his deathbed, he thought, "I'm going to invade England, and then I'm going to be king." So now we have three extremely powerful men who all think they're about to become the next king of England, and that means somebody's probably about to get hurt. Back in England, Harold Godwinson is watching over the dying King Edward. Suddenly, he comes out with a shocking announcement.
On a soap
Hey, everyone, gather in. That's it. Come closer.
Oh.
Don't be shy. Okay, so I've got bad news. The king is dead. I know, very sad.
Oh.
But good news. He said that I should be the next king. So, hooray for me. And, oh yeah, he said that if he once told anyone else they could be king, that he doesn't like them anymore and they should just stay in Normandy. And also he said that no one should ask any further questions. Okay, good talk. Go do whatever it is you do.
I would like some. There's gotta be some elaboration to that. I would like. There's gotta be some more to that. On a side note, there's a castle up on a hill with. And I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this part and it's like, putting a castle or. I can't tell. I'm gonna assume this is a castle, and they put it on top of a hill. A good strategy. Yeah. Okay.
Usually it took months of preparation to crown a new king, but Harold rushed it and he had himself crowned the same day King Edward was buried. In Normandy,
Oh.
William's advisors came to him and said, "Hey, Big Willie, bad news."
Sorry. It's a big Willie. Sorry. Sorry, sorry. What? It shouldn't be that funny. It just came. So, damn it! I was. Hold on, I gotta get back here.
Same day King Edward was buried.
Okay, what was the proceed of becoming King of England? And so what was the procedure of burying a king or queen? Actually, I'm gonna find that out in my lifetime on live TV, possibly. Anyway,
In Normandy, William's advisors came to him and said, "Hey, Big Willie, bad news. Harold Godwinson has taken the English throne." And William was furious. So he
What
sent
the
an envoy to Harold who said, "William says you stole the throne and demands you immediately return it to him." Let me think about that.
no.
No. He said no. That
Then it's
bastard.
war.
Wait, I thought you were the bastard. Dude,
Uncool.
uncool.
Anyway,
William immediately began gathering his armies together and preparing for an invasion of England. Now, killing a king was generally frowned upon in old-timey Europe because they were considered to have been chosen by God himself. So
yeah, that was the fun. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think anyone noticed that because I don't think many people know that outside of living in a country that has monarchs and deposing a king like that, it was like a really big deal, though depending on who's who. That so I got no questions. Let's continue.
Back in Normandy, William had to get God on his side. He needed the Pope's blessing for his conquest, so he went to the Pope and said, "Godwinson made an oath to me over holy relic."
Yes. What was it? One of the commenters from one of my previous videos said that the Pope was counting God's money or something. I can't remember. Can't remember the comment at the top of my head, but it was had a good laugh on that.
And then he usurped the throne. Can I kill him?
Huh.
Sure, why not?
What?
So the Pope gave William his blessing, meaning William now had God on his side. Everything was ready to go. Just one problem. The wind. It was blowing the wrong way, and William had to wait with his army in Normandy, while Godwinson waited with his army in the south of England. They waited, and waited, and waited, and then William said screw it and sailed for England and got shipwrecked because the wind was blowing the wrong way. So then he decided to keep on waiting. They waited for 2 months and the wind never changed. Eventually Godwinson got bored and also ran out of food for his soldiers, so he sent them all home and he returned to London. The south coast was undefended and all William could do was keep waiting. While the northerly wind kept William in Normandy, it was carrying Hardrada and his Viking army to England. Hardrada landed near the old Viking city of York and defeated a regional army led by the northern earls, and York surrendered. When Godwinson heard about this, he must have been pretty upset. He had just disbanded his army, and now he had to gather them all together again and march all the way north. He made the exhausting journey in just 4 days, which is crazy quick, and he caught the Vikings off guard and unprepared for battle. The two armies stood on either side of the river Derwent. Legend says that a berserker Viking single-handedly held the only bridge crossing the river, dodging arrows and fending off attackers, until some English soldiers got under the bridge in a barrel and gave him the old spear in the jewels. This gave the Vikings enough time to form a shield wall, but because they'd been caught off guard, many weren't wearing their chainmail and armor, and the English eventually defeated them, killing Hardrada, and with him, bringing the Viking era in England to an end.
Wow. That was it for the... Bit anticlimactic on that part.
Finally! William's fleet of over 700 ships and 14,000 men set sail and landed on the English coast at Pevensey and set up camp near Hastings. And Harold was still all the way in York. His exhausted army had to march all the way south just days after their battle with the Vikings. Harold made it to London and considered just staying there and waiting for William to come to him. But William forced Harold's hand by burning down a bunch of villages. Harold's army set out and met William's on the 14th of October, 1066, and both sides prepared themselves for the Battle of Hastings. The English were on a hill, so they decided to stay there because it was a good defensive position. The Normans approached, and the two sides probably spent a while yelling at each other. William and the Normans had a few tactical advantages over the English. The first were the archers. The Normans sent volley after volley of arrows at the English, who formed a shield wall in defense. Then William sent his infantry up the hill. The English threw anything they had at them, and the Normans couldn't break through the shield wall. Then the Normans' next tactical advantage came into play. William sent his cavalry up the hill, but even they struggled to break through the shield wall defenses. Wave after wave of infantry and cavalry came, and Harold knew all he had to do was let the Normans exhaust themselves and he would win. But then something a bit strange happened. It's possible the Normans incorrectly believed William had been killed. Maybe they lost their will to fight against the shield wall, or maybe it was an intentional deception tactic. But suddenly, the Norman forces turned and ran away from the English. Believing they had won, the English broke their shield wall and chased down the retreating Normans, who then turned around, encircled the English troops, and cut them down. In the chaotic fighting that followed, Harold Godwinson was killed, the most popular theory being that he took an arrow in the eye. The English were defeated, and William had won. He was no more just a bastard. Now, he was a conqueror. At first, the English nobles were reluctant to make him king, but William burned down a few more villages, and the nobles eventually gave in and offered him the crown. As he was coronated, the local villagers in Westminster let out a cheer of support, but William thought it was a riot, so he burned down the village. William then had to go on a long and costly campaign of quelling rebellions and burning down villages all over England to force the people into submission. And England went through a massive transformation under its new Norman rule. English nobles were replaced with Normans. They built castles and grand cathedrals, but one of the most interesting changes occurred within the English language. The Normans brought their dialect of French to England, and it merged with Old English in ways we still live with today. First of all, the Normans were obviously the ones in power, so words related to power like government, judge, castle, and crown come from the Normans. Words that are considered posher or more refined are usually the Norman ones. At first, the Anglo-Saxons probably weren't that friendly to the Normans, while the Normans likely weren't that amiable towards the Anglo-Saxons. An Anglo-Saxon might come into a room, but a Norman would enter into a chamber. An Anglo-Saxon might buy themselves a shirt, while a Norman would purchase a blouse. And while that filthy peasant's new shirt may be fair, the Norman blouse is absolutely beautiful. The Normans actually considered some Anglo-Saxon words so crude that I can't even say them on YouTube.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
YouTube. But there's more. Ask an Anglo-Saxon what job he does, and he might respond with some low-level trade, such as a baker, a miller, or a shoemaker. But a Norman has a skilled trade, like a painter, a tailor, or a merchant. The
Oh.
Anglo-Saxon farmers working in the fields owned many cows, pigs, and sheep, but once they were served up in a Norman banquet, they became beef, pork, and mutton. And written English changed too. Since many Anglo-Saxons couldn't write, the written language was romanticized. Your annoying friend that says cool whip might just be speaking an old English dialect, as the Anglo-Saxons originally wrote it when, where, and what, but the Normans swapped the W and H around, and the
Oh.
long English A vowel sounded more like an O to the Normans, so you can thank them that you live in a home, not a ham.
Okay, that was the end of the video, and I got nothing to say about it, but just wow. Also, maybe there is something I want to tell you about a certain word that was taken from the Bible that the British used, but I think I might get monetized, or just the video might just be taken if I discuss that bit. Just look up Sodom in the Bible, and you figure that one out for yourself. But anyway, thank you for watching to the end of the video. Please like and subscribe. It brings a smile to my face. The Star Chat video is gonna come soon. I don't know when. Maybe I'm hoping this week, but don't just take it with a grain of salt. It's just a quarter of it, well, a quarter of its animation is done, voice is done, its process like almost done, but it comes with the animation. But anyway, that's it, and bye. Stay safe.